Okay, everyone, here we go. So these are the lesson notes for today. So make sure you have your paper and pencil out and ready to copy down these notes so you will be prepared for the following worksheet, right? So this lesson is called Angle Measures and Relationships, right? So we've done angle addition postulate, right? When we add small angles plus small angle equals to large angle. Well, angles have special relationships as well. So we're going to talk about those relationships. Okay. So the first relationship we have here is called, switch to yellow here, complementary angles, right? Well, complementary means, just like the word it comes about, that it comes with, is they complement each other, right? Well, in math, complementary angles means that they are two angles that add up to, sorry about that, there are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Or not two necessarily, it could be more, right? But they are angles that add up to 90 degrees, right? Usually it's represented by a little box, remember, right? So when we have the angle like that, and we have the little box, that means 90 degrees, right? It's a right angles, right? Right angle, right? So complementary angles are angles that add up to 90 degrees, right? Usually you have the little box here, and the little box we always know means 90 degrees, okay? So that's complementary. Next, we have angles called linear pair of angles. So linear specifically has the word line in it, right? Line. Here are these right here. So a line is flat, right? And as we learned in the prior lesson, a flat line is 180 degrees, right? So angles that add up to 180 degrees, right? Usually it's a straight line like that, right? It forms a straight line. A straight line is formed by the angles, right? So you have something like this, right? So this angle plus this angle together, right, form a straight line, right? So those are called a linear pair of angles. Also, another way that they are identified is they are identified as supplementary angles. That's another word for them as well. Supplementary angles. So complementary add up to 90 degrees, and supplementary angles, or linear pair, add up to 180 degrees, right? Okay, so that's the first two. Next, we have vertical angles. So vertical angles here are probably the easiest angles there. Vertical angles are equal to each other, right? So we put angles that are equal to each other, right? Vertical angles are equal, right? Now, usually the way I like to identify them is you identify them with an X. They are across from each other on an X. So, for example, if we have one line here and one line there, right, you would say that this angle here is vertical to the other red angle there. So they are equal to each other because they are across from each other across this X. See? They are across from each other just like that. So that means that this angle is equal to that angle right there. And they are, again, across from each other. They are equal. Those are called the vertical angles, right? Angles that are equal to each other. And finally, we have something that we call adjacent. So adjacent angles, everybody. So adjacent angles are a little different. Adjacent angles pretty much means that it's two angles that share a vertex and share a common wall. So let me show you what that looks like, right? So, for example, let's say we have this angle here, right? And we have a line that goes down the middle there, right? That means that, look, here's the vertex and here's the common wall. So it would be, this angle is adjacent to that angle because they both have the same vertex and they share a common wall, right? Which technically you would say that is the kind of the same as supplementary, right? There would be the vertex, and that would be the common wall, and that would be the vertex, right? But this one, no, not really. It would be just like supplementary. But in this case, you have to find a specific degree as well. So the kind of angles you're going to see here are ones that are going to have something like this, an arc on the outside. Now, if you notice, that arc, big arc, together with these two small arcs form a perfect circle. And as we know, right, circles form 360 degrees, right? So keep that in mind. So let's keep that in mind. All right, so let's go here and let's do some examples, right? So the notes say, name the relationship and find the value of x. So we have to name the relationship and find the value of x. So let's do that here. So first, we're going to notice that I have an angle here and an angle here represented by 7x plus 1 and 8x minus 7. Look at that. And actually, let me be a little bit more specific here. That angle and that angle there, right? And if you notice, they are across from each other from an x, right? So which one of our four notes says they are across from each other from an x? Look at that. This one here. Vertical angles, right? And vertical angles are angles that are equal to each other. So let us identify our angles first. They are vertical angles. And these angles are equal to each other. So I'm going to set up these two as equal to each other. Just like that. So the second part of our instructions say find the value of x. So I'm going to solve for x. Right? So I'm going to bring this 7x over as minus 7x. And I'm going to bring this minus 7 over as plus 7. Just like that. 8x minus 7x is 1x, right? 1 times x. And 1 plus 7 is 8. The opposite of multiplying by 1 is dividing by 1. So x is equal to 8. So I have found vertical angles, and I have found x. Right? I named the relationship, and I solved for x. Perfect. All right. Let's do number 2. So if we noticed here, I have a common vertex, right? And I have a common wall, right? Between this angle and this angle. Look at that. Look at that. And on the outside, look what I have here as well. Look at that. What does that look like? Right? These are two angles that have a common vertex, share a vertex, and share a wall. Right above, right? Adjacent angles, right? Adjacent angles. And remember what I told you? When you have the loop on the outside plus the two small ones on the inside, they form an entire circle that adds up to 360 degrees. So pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to add 3x minus 5 plus 50 plus 8x plus 29 is equal to an entire circle, which equals 360 degrees. Good. So we know that these are adjacent angles, right? These two here, that and that. And that, right? They're adjacent. They're all next to each other. So let's add them all up. 3x minus 5 plus 50 plus 8x plus 29 is equal to 360 degrees, right? They form an entire circle. So let's combine. I'm going to do 3x plus 8x together, and then minus 5 plus 50 and plus 29 is equal to 360 together. So I'm going to add these two first, and that gives me 45. And I bring down my 29, and 29 plus 45 is 74, right? But immediately, guys, that 74 is going to go over as minus 74, just like that, right? And these two guys right here can also add. 3x plus 8x is 11x, right? And now 360 minus 740 is, I'm going to use my calculator here because I don't really know what it is, right? So 360 minus 74 is equal to 286. And this is 11 times x, so the opposite of multiplying by 11 is dividing by 11. And I get x is equal to 26. And there you go. Look at that. I have named the relationship of the angles, and I have solved for x. Look at that. Okay. Number 3. Let's do number 3 here. Right? If you notice, look at that yellow line there. What kind of line is that? Right? It's a straight line, right? It's a straight line. And we all know that a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. So let's go back up to our notes. Where is it? A straight line? Look at that right there. This is a linear pair of angles because look, straight line, which are also called supplementary angles that add up, angles that add up to 180 degrees, right? So these are linear pair of angles, and they add up to 180 degrees. So that angle plus that angle together add up to 180 degrees. So let's add them up. Negative 3 plus x plus 153 is equal to 180 degrees, right? They add up half a circle, 180 degrees, right? So I'm going to combine. I'm going to put my variables first, my regular number second, and I'm going to combine these two dudes right here, and I get 150 And immediately, what am I going to move over? The 150, right? Just like that. So now I'm left with x here by itself on the left. And 30. 180 minus 150 is 30 on the right. So once again, I have named my angle relationships. And I have solved for x for number 3. And one more type of relationship, right? One more type of relationship. Let's do it. Number 4. And number 4, if you notice there in yellow, there's that little box. And what is that little box again? Let's remember. That little box means what? The little box means 90 degrees. Yes, it's a right angle. So this is called complementary angles. And they are angles that add up to 90 degrees, complementary angles. So these are called complementary angles, right? And these two angles add up to 90 degrees. So this angle plus this angle add up to 90 degrees. So 9x minus 6 plus 8x minus 6 is equal to 90 degrees. So let me draw my line of separation as always. And let me bring my x's together and my numbers together, right? So 9x and 8x are 17x. And then -6 and -6 are both the same sign, so I have to add those suckers. 6 plus 6 is 12. And I get a -12. But immediately, how many times have I said that in this video? I got to add 12 here, right? So I get 17x here, still 17 times x. And I get 102. 90 plus 12 is 102. And the opposite of multiplying by 17 is dividing by 17. So I get x is equal to 6. So once again, I have named the relationship and I have solved for x. Right? And that right there, kiddos, is the lesson for the day. Make sure that you rewind and make sure that you pause whenever you need to in order to get these notes, right? Which are called angle measures and angle relationships.